Phil Strassler, and I welcome you all. Thank you so much for taking time out. This is going to be a very, very interesting and enlightening session. Our next program will be on June 14th, and you'll get more information about that program in a day or two. So first, I'm excited to introduce a new member to the Institute, Adriana Zaluka. Adriana, thank you. She is the founder of MyFoTech, which is a research and events-based network that aims to help single and multifamily law professionals simplify decisions around operations, technology, strategy, and selection. With nearly 15 years of experience in publishing, account and events management for the family law and wealth community, she is now focusing on family office technology. And I welcome you, Adriana.
Thank you, Phil. And hello, everyone. It's great to be with you today, and I am delighted to be collaborating with the Larry Krauss Family Office Tech-NEW-logy Institute. As part of this collaboration, we will be bringing Phil's content. We will be leveraging the Institute's expertise and the rich content that he and his steering committee have produced over the last 2 years. We are organizing the content into a resource library on myfotech.net for our combined networks, as well as the wider community of family office professionals and the family office technology ecosystem. So as Phil said, today's session is being recorded and will be available on our website next week. I'd also like to say a special thanks to Dr. Tania Neild, who is the moderator today. She has been very generous in sharing her expertise and time with me as well. So thank you, Tania, and I look forward to what you have prepared for us today. And on this note, over to you, Phil.
Sure. So also thank you, Tania, for introducing me to Adriana. So that's
Exactly.
So Tania's extensive deployment experience enables her to consult on complex issues such as crossing applications for general ledger systems, analyzing security master attributes, modeling or tracking relationships, and managing tax or partnership accounting. She has deep domain expertise with design, customization, and implementation of new technologies, and services to align strategic business objectives with tactical requirements, including compliance, file management, security checks, and vulnerability. She has founded InfoGrate, which supports technology and operation areas for single-family offices, multifamily offices, and many operating companies. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Tania. Thank you so much.
And Adriana, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you guys found that connection valuable. Thank you to my panelists that are about to present. This is really their presentation, not mine. And actually this is, I'm not nearly as polished as Phil and Adriana. This is definitely a fireside chat, which is appropriate for my style. So thank you all for joining this morning. Without further ado, Phil gave my background and so forth, and you probably know me by reputation as being quite informal. So with that, I'm going to ask each one. The theme of our conversation is today is all three of these vendors are from Europe, and they're coming to the US. And historically, the US has really led in technologies, particularly around family offices. It's an extremely established family office marketplace, though difficult to sell to. And we often have a myopic look at just what's in and what people are doing here. And there are family offices all across the world. And there are software vendors now that are popping up outside the United States that are really leading and providing a much more holistic or different slant at the opportunity. These three do not compete with one another. They're different types of technology. So you've got one FS Wealth with Bobby, who I'll ask to introduce himself, but it's essentially financial statements and performance reporting. You know, if you were competing in the US, you would say you were going against Adipar. So this is a European version of Adipar that's much younger, and obviously has a more international flair. Elysys comes to us. We've got Ness and Max joining. They have a general ledger system that's built on Business Central. So oftentimes you'll see Intact and Business Central running around as best in class general ledger systems, but they're very generic. They can apply to any point of sales, manufacturing, and so forth. And they've taken this wonderful institutional grade system and customized it specifically for family offices with security master, private equity, intrafamily loans, and so forth. And then you've got Greenlock, and Greenlock is very interesting. It's doing fee analysis. So it will pull all of the different information Danielle will present, but it's pulling all of the different information around your fees, around your investment fees, to see what is truly your net of fee performance. What is that fee really look like when you uncover all of the different layers? With that, that was a quick intro just to give you, I will ask each one of them to give a little bit more depth. So why don't we start with you, Bobby? Would you mind presenting or giving a quick introduction?
Sure. Thank you very much, Tania. Thank you, everyone. And it's a pleasure to be here. I'm actually speaking to you from London. You'd be glad to know it's warm and sunny here. It's not raining. And it's been fantastic interacting with Tania and the other companies on this panel, because as Tania said, we don't actually overlap or compete, but there are ways in which we can collaborate. And that's actually my opening word, because what have we built? Well, we built a visualization platform which allows a wealth owner to control their wealth from anywhere in the world, and it's customized around that wealth owner. And the idea is it's a collaboration tool. The logic being that having managed complex portfolios myself and allocated to different asset classes, including liquids, illiquids, including private equity and directs, many directs transactions, including ROFA stock and secondary transactions. And then also having built up a portfolio for family offices and for ourselves with collectibles and passion plays, we realize that it's impossible, and that is the word, to actually manage those assets using a spreadsheet and Dropbox and filing cabinets all over the world. And that was really led to the formation of OneFS Wealth. So we wanted to build a platform which allows wealth owners to control their wealth, not get stressed out about their wealth, focus on other things such as health. With such a platform, it's taking away not just the performance type issues related to a portfolio, because clearly you have those, you know, how much are you being charged by a fund, which is one of the topics being covered by one of the other panelists. And also, you know, what's your performance overall on the portfolio? But it actually covers all of the operational risks and the admin risks. And just a couple of quick examples. If you imagine a portfolio and you're worried about your 8% return on the liquids book, and you neglect the real estate part, and you've got, I don't know, a £50 million property in Mayfair, and you fail to insure it because no one's reminded you, then clearly you have a significant risk there, which is going to absolutely negate the performance of the rest of the portfolio if something were to happen to that building. So it's that type of risk that we're trying to incorporate, and through our platform it sends you risk alerts and so on, and we can go on to that in a bit more detail. So we're UK based, we have a global team. The approach that we take with my co-founder Vitaly, who is my technical co-founder, and the approach that we've taken is we've welded together deep finance knowledge with deep tech knowledge. So we've been building AI-based platforms as a team for many, many years. Indeed, we're going down the AI machine learning, natural language processing route right now. And that's the next phase of our platform. And that's why we're really excited. So I think that's probably enough for me.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Ness, do you want to give a quick introduction of Elysys?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. And hello, everybody. Thank you for having us on here. It's a wonderful opportunity. I'm Ness, or Vanessa. With me today, I've got Max, who's our CEO. I'll give you a very little sort of brief intro into Elysys, and the Elysys that you sort of see today was founded in 2006. It was born from working with one of our clients, a Swiss-rooted family office who are based in Monaco, which is where our head office is. Our client was looking to find a solution for their accounting software, help them manage their wealth and portfolio funds, and a great fit for that was Business Central. It was superb with regards to things like their accounting, banking, payables, fixed assets, consolidation, but it was missing a big piece for them, and that was their investment portfolio management. That's really sort of where we came in. We started to help them customize their system, giving them the functionality that they needed to operate effectively. And that's really what we sort of built then the solution on, and how you sort of see us today. Same time, we made a strategic decision to work exclusively with Microsoft. It enables us to give a global covering, with Microsoft obviously being a global organization. It also in turn means that we can leverage the whole of the Microsoft stack and our family office solution. So we work constantly, I would say, to develop the offering that we've got, adding new and often bespoke functionality, working with clients across Europe, North and South America, Middle East, APAC. We've probably got around 50 family office clients at the moment. Some of them have been with us for the past 15 years. So really from when we started. 80% probably family offices, and they range really from very, very small to incredibly large. Max, I don't know whether you've got anything else you'd like to sort of add?
Yeah, thanks, Ness. So, yeah, I think as you understand, we are 100% Microsoft. So all the technology really is based on Business Central, which is ERP style, ERP technology. But also in the back of that, we have the whole of the reporting and the analysis as well, which leverage most of the technology provided by Microsoft. So all the BI and the new functionalities that we're really bringing to the family office space.
Perfect, great, thank you. And Danielle, will you give a quick introduction of your brand new company? It's super exciting.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm Daniel. I'm a co-founder of Greenlock, and we set up a company a little bit less than 2 years ago with one idea in mind, that we should attack an underserved space of fee management and optimization. So we typically help large family offices to fully automate their process of controlling the cost, and we do it in 3 steps. Number one, we help them to look across the entire investment value chain, from custodians through advisory, through brokerage, down to execution and investment management, and source all the fees related to every single intermediary into one very detailed data set, and provide as a first step a clear view how much client is paying for the entire investment activities. Idea behind is to come up to a single number, which is true total investment costs. The second step, we leverage our proprietary benchmark that we build up over this time, knowing exactly how much other people paid for that and that services, knowing sourcing it directly from the client. And we try to identify those places where I believe with your assets under management, with your style of investment, you can pay less for the very same type of activity. And eventually we, with the client, build up a plan, what should be done to reduce your cost, keeping your underlying strategy exactly as it is. We're trying to offer you the same strategy, which is yours, we will not alter it, but at low cost. We are based in Switzerland with teams partly in France, partly in London. Thank you.
Perfect, awesome. So as you can see, very different approaches, but relatively young and innovative and super exciting. So the question is, why are you entering the US, or why are you considering entering in the US? And maybe since everybody knows I'm a numbers geek, I'll just quickly run down. 1FS has about 16 billion on the platform. Elysys has about 200 billion on the platform, and Greenlock, the newest one on the block, is just over 1 billion. So you can see the growth that happens quickly. 1FS already has 34 family offices. Elysys has 43 family offices, and even though quite young, Greenlock already has 16 family offices on board doing this research. So that's pretty impressive. 1FS has been around for 3 years. Elysys, the older one, has been 17 years, and then Greenlock, as he mentioned, is just less than 2 years old. So with that scope and dimension, the question is, you know, what attracted you to the US, and why are you thinking about coming here? Elysys, why don't you go first?
Oh, thank you very much, Tania. Ours was, I think we knew we had a great product. It was evident from the loyal client base that we've got, the one that we've built over the last 17 years. And we've been very successful in the EU, Middle East, and Asia. But to be that true global company, we knew we had to break into the US market. For us, it was untapped. But we also knew that it was a marketplace, a family office marketplace in the US that was enormous. So set about doing homework, looking at what we would need to sort of understand what was different in the US. So we're researching the market. How would we also gain credibility? The inquiry level as well in the US and Canada had started to sort of grow for us. That helped us enormously. And the advent of Microsoft Dynamics coming to the last MCH payment. Sorry. So although some of those inquiries had turned into customers, we were suffering from not having a regional office. So back in 2020, we opened up our US office in New York, reworked all of our legal documentation for the US market, engaged with a legal advisory team over there, and really started to begin the journey. We also established partnerships with other Microsoft partners who were already working in the financial services space, people who already knew their customer base, and we began working with a couple of smaller family offices just to help get ourselves established, but also to build referenceable credibility. And it worked. We've got some great clients in the US and Canada now. We're currently working with around about 20 different prospect clients at the moment over in the US, which is absolutely fantastic. But also, we love the speed of working with US clients. You guys make decisions fast and you're straight talking, whereas some of our European clients aren't quite there. Your approach fits us really well. It's how we like to work.
That's fabulous. Danielle, what about you?
Sure.
Obviously, you're the youngest one.
Yeah. I should tell you, the way we started, we really observed a certain shift that happens in family offices. And this shift is to operate more effectively and efficiently. So with time, as family offices get more matured and more professionalized, it really starts to resemble business very much. So it has its revenue, which is in our world would be annual performance, and it has its costs, which are fees. And the question we constantly hear from family offices here in Europe is that how can you be a good steward of your wealth, the capital, if you don't have clarity on your cost? If you accept that there is certain opacity, you don't know really this certain pricing, the benchmark that is offered on the market, and you don't really control them, because all the eyes in at least classical families office in Europe is on the top line, on the revenue. Why yes, we thought the industry is more matured than it is in Europe. We would see people who are at larger capital or running more professionally. So we would see our solution would be much more fit for them. Whereas in Europe, for us, it's sometimes taking lots of time to educate clients why costs do matter in investment. Because every dollar that you save in investment, it's a dollar that you can compound as you go. And that's something that takes us extremely long time to explain to some newly created family office in Europe. And my belief in US, this conversation will be much easier, and that's why we're looking very much to start partnering.
Super, thank you. And Bobby, what about you?
Sure, thank you. So for us, it's really pretty straightforward. Our client base includes family offices, and we started out indeed with the family office market, as they have typically the most complex portfolios. The most mature family office market is in the US. For us, it was a case of establishing product market fit in the UK and in Europe, which is what we've done, and building a solid client base with some global brands, which is exactly what we have now, and then looking at the US at the right time. And we feel the right time is now, because we've actually just hired someone in the US, so we have boots on the ground. I fervently believe that unless you have boots on the ground, you can't really operate in a different location. We're now going through the process of legals and the not regulatory framework so much, because we aren't regulated. We don't need to be regulated as a company, but there are hoops to overcome, and so that's in play. But the other catalyst was really driven off the back of reverse inquiry, because we've been getting some accolades over in this part of the world. We've won a few awards, and we've been lucky in that respect. So I think that there's been a transmission of information to the US off the back of that. So we've had people coming to us, RIAs, and also financial institutions, saying that, hang on a second, we're hearing about what you're doing, and can we have a discussion and a demo? So we now have 28 prospective clients in the US, and we're looking to convert them to clearly signed up clients. So that's really the logic. But also we're all about the partnerships, and someone mentioned earlier, I think partnerships are so important, and to partner with people such as Tania, but also build a strategic advisory board where we have people in the US, and that's exactly what we've done as well. So we've actually signed up with two very well-regarded family office type professionals in the US, and they have been really helpful as well to actually now help us navigate through that whole process of starting up.
That's fabulous. And Elysys, what about you? Ness, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, that's fine. So why come in, or challenges? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. On the challenges and what you're doing to come to the US. Yeah.
So we did the sort of why come in, but from a challenge perspective, I think it was really for us understanding the specific local and regulatory compliance landscape, and having to adapt some of our products, some of the functionality. Having our solutions built on top of a Microsoft ERP really helps, greatly, because it's used by thousands, tens of thousands of companies, particularly within the US. But then language, it sounds a crazy thing to say, in the team, we all speak English. I'm British, but your language is different still. And the terminology is different. And we have to appreciate that, and we have to adopt it if we're going to be successful in the US market. Another challenge was the pond between us. We can't assume that our customers are going to sit and wait for hours for them to, for us to come online if they've got a mission critical issue to resolve. So we've already got team members working from the US to help resolve that. But also, an additional support function working from the European team. They also work with the US clients. So as and when needed, we send them across, they'll be in client offices, or we just have them sort of on board. So again, as Bobby was saying, boots on ground. trying to think what else. Yeah, I think the experience that you, as I said earlier, you want these rapid results, and we absolutely embrace that. Some of the European customers, as I sort of mentioned earlier, can spend sort of weeks or months considering requirements, and that makes our life difficult. You know, resource planning more complicated. So it's a really sort of welcome way to sort of be embraced, coming to the, you know, to do business in the way that you guys do. We can adapt quickly, so get you guys up and running, and we can modify things later. But I think the importance is, you know, working how you do, sort of just go. Let's get what you need, get a solution, and if we have to sort of modify something, change something, make it bespoke later, you know, it's an option for you.
That's great. I think just given time, I'll kind of skip ahead. So given your perspective, and Bobby, I'm going to start with you. We're now off-roading, as everybody was expecting from me. Bobby, you mentioned that you've been doing AI both prior and today, and getting into the natural language. What would you consider your secret sauce? And is it have to do with the artificial intelligence, or is it your flexibility in the design and presentation? What would you say?
Sure, and absolutely. I think AI, ML, NLP, all really interesting. I think it's slightly overhyped at the moment, personally, but all very much part of technology. And I think there's almost too much of a differentiation with tech, and then you've got something else outside of it, which is AI, ML. That's not the case. It's woven into what we're looking to build and what companies are doing generally. Clearly, we're huge fans of AI because we deal with the entire portfolio. And if you think about the entire portfolio, that encompasses private equity directs and how do you value those companies. So having some predictive ability is powerful, but not just those types of financial assets. So if you think about classic cars, a few of our clients have very large classic car collections, and what we're working on with them is to actually build out some intelligence around what's the difference in pricing for one vehicle versus another. And it's not simply a case of one model equates directly to the valuation of another model. There are lots of nuances based on provenance. So AI is one of our secret sauce ingredients, but just one of them. I feel it's the fact that we're a deep tech and a deep finance company. So in whatever order, it doesn't matter. So we really do understand what the clients are after. And you know, the old adage about if you've seen one family office, you've seen one. That is absolutely the case. You know, we come across these clusters of family offices which are sort of similar sometimes, but they still have characteristics which we don't think is a good thing, by the way, because our goal is to try and help them to become more efficient. And that's really the objective of our software. And you'll relate to this completely, Tania, because it is about hand-holding and making sure that you provide a framework, in our case, a tech framework, which is almost customized around them and how they operate and their working practices. So I think that's key. And then also, I feel it's that ability to have that trust. And you know, trust is another magic ingredient if you're trying to build a company, because if you don't have trust, you won't have any clients. And we've garnered the trust of some huge global brand names, and that's fantastic. And we're really looking to capitalize on that. Why have we actually managed to get that trust factor? It's off the back of our security. Our vault is best in class, our document vault, and people trust the fact that if they're using OneFS, it is one of the leading platforms out there from a security standpoint. So I think that's really important. But then it's also the intuitive manner in which you interact with a platform. I mean, it's absolutely useless if you build tech and the tech is not usable. And it's quite interesting because earlier today I was on a call with a very large UK family office, and they were saying that they tried to implement a solution, a tech solution, to bring everything together and consolidate. They spent 18 months. They hired 3 people on the payroll for that 18-month period. They couldn't implement, and when they actually got to a point of sort of being able to use it, it wasn't usable. No one could actually interface with what they built. And so I think we pride ourselves on having this really easy, intuitive interface. And how? It's because we set up a next-gen / innovation advisory board. So we're actually engaging with the people who will ultimately inherit the wealth. And so I think that way we're building an interface which they relate to, because they helped us to build it. So I think that's really important as well. And finally, it's that risk alignment, because if you want to work with these wealthy people, and by the way, we're not just catering for the ultra rich on the planet, we're catering for all wealth owners, and we started out with the most complex portfolios. But if you want to work with any of them, it's got to be a case of aligning from a risk perspective. So we will say to them, look, we want to prove to you that we can provide you with a solution which has a ROI, and we demonstrate that. And I think that's really important as well.
So I'm going to drill into two parts of that. How does the family office actually engage? You talk about the wealth owner. Do you think of that as the office, or do you think of that as the G1, the G2, or the G3 family members? Because oftentimes, the office can be concerned that the family member may start asking questions that they're not prepared to learn the full answer to. And then on the flip side, if you work directly with the family, oftentimes, setting up technology is not their core competence, nor do they have a ton of time and capacity to do it. That's kind of why they hired the office. So how do you balance those two things?
Yeah, really good points. So on the first one, we knew this would be an issue with G1s, G2s, and the interaction and so on. So we've designed the portfolio, the platform, to allow for segregation of assets and functions. So if you have a next gen and they have access to the platform, they will only be able to see assets that the principals or the matriarch have allowed them to see. And indeed, not just for family office members, but anyone involved in the structure, whether they're part of the family office or a part of the operating companies, they have restricted access or full access depending on who they are and what they do. And an example of that, which works really well, one of our clients has a very large art collection. So they have one work of art which is very valuable. It's loaned to museums. So the art advisor only has access to that work of art. And then they record where is the work of art being moved to and what's the insurance, etc. And that is an example of where you can control access, so no awkward questions are asked, and I think that works really well. And you can also change that over time. So as more of the portfolio is allocated to the next gens, then the restrictions or whatever the allocation is increased, and so on. So that's the first part of your question. And setting up, yeah, absolutely. I think that we don't engage with any wealth owner or family office as a technology vendor. That's not the language we use. We are your technology partner, and we want to come in and handhold you with respect to the onboarding and also advising us to your existing infrastructure, which is actually what we're doing for a very large Gulf family office currently. And the idea is that that's part of the package, because unless you provide that level of hand-holding, it will never get to that next stage of being useful. So I feel that actually working very closely with them and garnering again their trust, which is what I mentioned earlier, is of paramount importance.
Great, thank you so much. What about you, Vanessa?
I'm going to throw this at Max.
Of course, Ernest, thanks. So it's the case for us where we easily create different companies, different entities for the different members of the family. And each entity can be obviously managed and secured differently with the different access. We can also then set up the right reporting functions for the members of the entity, the members of the family to access the content of their entities. What we see around actually is we have different requirements from families depending on the generations, and it can vary from younger generations to older generations. And we really see a difference as to what the people expect, from their system, whether they want like standard PDF reports to be printed out on their desk every morning, for example. That's one kind of people. They've been working like this for the last 20 years, 30 years. So they just expect their report to be produced on a certain day of the week. But you also have to deal with the younger generations. They're just doing everything on their mobile phone, and they want to be able to access all of their data just straight out of their device, whether it's a mobile phone, whether it's anything else. They just want to connect and do all the management from their device. So that's the sort of things that we basically exposed and we allowing through the technology.
But what do you think your secret sauce is in having, I mean, you've got a lot of depth in 17 years in Europe. What do you think coming to the US, is your secret sauce, having that rich background, and then obviously built on the Microsoft stack gives you, the security, the stability, and all of those kinds of things. What do you think is your unique perspective as to like why you could compete against Intact or Business Central, Native, or I think you mentioned in one case that you thought that Advent was a competitor in the US that you come across?
Do you want me to take this bit, or you can carry on?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we've the main aspect about what we do is investment accounting. So this is really the main pain points that we solve. Everything to do with investment portfolio accounting or many different class of assets. This is where we really add the value, allowing family office just to have one system, one single source of truth system to be able to manage all their assets, whether it's financial assets or non-financial assets, lifestyle assets, properties. Basically, we can have just one single source of truth, which benefits in a way in the operations, obviously, not to have to enter all the transactions into multiple systems, but then also the benefit is in terms of accuracy. Okay, so the mid office teams or the front office teams, they're always in line with the back office. What they, the family, they have to rely on their back office, their accountants, but also they rely on their investment advisors, their traders, and sometimes those guys, if they use different systems, then obviously they get different numbers. It's possible those numbers do not agree, and that's really the space we're in, having just one single source of truth system, which basically used by the whole team, whether it's a back office, mid office, or front office.
Great. And Danielle, we haven't heard from you. What do you think your secret sauce is?
Yeah. So look, typically when we come to see a new family office, we ask them, how do you manage your fees? What is your take? And we see two types of family offices. Type one, they say, honestly, we don't look at it because it's too complex and we just trust banks and intermediaries will do their job. Others say, yeah, actually, we did look. We set up a task force of 3 analysts. They work for 2.5, 3 months, did some manual introduction, and we found, yes, we might underpay something, but we don't really know what to do with this, what to do next. And then these people get taken away by other activities, and eventually it goes to nowhere. So when we come in, we thought what could be added components of secret sauce, and we thought of 2 things. Number one, the reason why it cannot be done manually on continuous basis, because there's too much little nitty-gritty work of going transaction by transaction, correlating different sources of information to put a big picture. So to cope with that, we developed an automated system that directly reads into your data feed, be it from Addepar or another PMS provider, and then connects it to your quarterly invoicing that comes from your custodian banks. It connects to Morningstar, where it's source all the information about how much you may pay for your external managers in terms of dealing fee, administrative fee, investment fees. If you see you have a significant portion of, say, private assets, we will ask you, hey, can you provide us the initial prospectus from where we will source the information? So it's completely automated, this story, and it takes as little time as possible from the client, from the family offices. So this is first part. The second part, once we know how much you pay, we need to answer, is it a fair price? Is it what industry is supposed to pay? And to answer this question, we build up our own proprietary fee benchmark. And I think right now, it would be safe to say that we may have one of the clearest view on what is the pricing in the industry. There are three sources of information that we use to build up this proprietary benchmark. Number one, it's easy. We just ask bank, what is your official fee? We got it either through the clients or from the banks. But funny story, pretty much everybody knows that nobody pays official pricing in family office business. It's just starting point to negotiate, and it's nowhere near what is happening in reality. We use it as a reference point. The second source, once we land a big client, be it say a multi-family office with 7 families, each family might have something between 4 and 7 custodians, immediately we have a breadth of coverage of how much actual investors do pay for this type of services with given IUM. And because we can split it at very, very fine granularity, we can understand what is the fair pricing for brokerage, what is the fair pricing for custody, for forex bill, etc. The third source that we use is that we developed a large network of consultants in Europe who work directly with family offices and run competitive bids or requests for proposal for them. Typically, it happens the following way. They may have a client, a family office saying, look, I have 100 million and I'm looking for a custodian that offers me the best condition. So those consultants will set a competitive bids to maybe 15, 20 participants, get the result, find the best one, return the best to the client. So what we come in, we come for the remainders. We come and ask, can you provide what was the competitive bid with this amount of pricing? And we also feed it in our fee database. Like this, we are having the full spectrum of different costs and different structure and how much the industry is ready to pay. So I guess this would be the two components, the detailed fee benchmark and the automation of the fee gathering and monitoring system.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique offering in the United States, and I would hazard a guess internationally as well. That's great. Let me just take a quick step back. I asked Bobby about artificial intelligence and so forth. It is way overhyped, and obviously people are trying to figure out how to leverage it. I didn't ask you, Danielle, or Max about it. Are you? Does it have anything to do, or are you just like that's cool, but we're back here adding up numbers and making ticking and tying stuff out? Is there any plan for that and leveraging it in your world?
Look, in my view, artificial intelligence is just another tool in your tech stack. It shouldn't be put at the forefront. We just use it to automatically map thousands of transactions we have. So we don't need manual work. We build up a system that just knows if I see these key terms in the description of the security, I can quickly map, is it a ETF, is it a fund, is it a private equity, is it something. So like this, we only feed the security name or its ISIN, and we get the full of information created by artificial intelligence. It helps us to quickly build up structured database. But for us, it's just one tool of many others. It's not at all the cornerstone of the solution.
Perfect. And Max, I didn't prep you for this, but obviously Microsoft's version of Copilot is very exciting. And you're built on the Microsoft stack. I think Business Central was the first place that they released the actual artificial intelligence piece into it. Have you been able to leverage that given you're on the Business Central framework? Or is it, you know, you don't use that module? Because I think it's predominantly revolving around the items dimension.
Yeah, we're looking at it very closely to see, you know, how best to leverage all of that technology coming again from Microsoft. We know it's going to be useful in different areas. So one area, for example, would be helping with all the capture of all the invoices and the bills, booking that, you know, automatically into the back office. So that would be one, definitely one area that we're looking at closely. The other area as well that we are looking into great details is to help with bringing in all the securities informations directly into the system, as we've just said, basically to eliminate some of the work that the users is currently doing to fetch and to enter all of that manually. And then the last part is also on helping with connections with all the third parties, because we obviously have to connect to a large, you know, number of systems out there, including, you know, custodians, including brokers, aggregators, alternative, you know, investment providers. So that artificial intelligence ultimately is going to help us, you know, speed up and improve all of the work that is involved in that.
Just given that Business Central is such a dominant platform, and for those on the phone that don't know Business Central is kind of the G3 version of Great Plains or SL or NAV, which were the prior ones. And you see Business Central starting to really take root because Great Plains, which was in a lot of family offices, is being retired. And so people are being forced to migrate to Business Central or to completely leave the Microsoft stack. But Max, there's something called an item in Business Central. Intact also has something called an item. Do you use that for your investments, or do you take advantage of that? Because I believe the insights that are coming from the Microsoft Copilot in Business Central really are currently revolving around that. Is that an actual piece that you use in your stack?
So are you referring to the item, the stock item in Business Central? Okay.
Yep.
So we don't really use this because we've created our own list of items for securities. If we talk about financial securities, financial assets, we couldn't really rely on the one that was provided by Business Central, so by this Microsoft ERP. In a sense, it was very much designed just purely for stock, you know, as we work with a stock item in a normal business, not in an investment business. So we had to recreate our own list with, you know, all the logic of working with those financial securities around for each, again, different type of assets, because, you know, you don't work with an equity the same way you work with a bond or with a private equity fund or with options. So we've had to recreate all the logic. So on that, we're looking at, you know, Copilot and all the artificial intelligence that Microsoft is providing, but to then you know, bring that into our modules. This is really the essence of what we do. Is really I would say we don't really invent anything. We're just taking what Microsoft is giving us and bringing that to the family office space. We listen to what our clients are asking us. We listen to what Microsoft is giving us, and we then putting it all together as we develop. And that's what we've been doing for 15 years.
Yeah, I'm sure that many of us are familiar with every family office. While it's true, meet one family office, you've met one family office. I will say that every family office has a general ledger system. And we've all tried to jury rig and jam in our investments into various characteristics or dimensions, or our chart of accounts is where we used to mostly jam it in back in the old days before dimensions. So I think it's quite clever that you've basically been able to create your own investment dimension as opposed to trying to jam it into the items one that most people do. We're wrapping up here. I wanted to just do two quick things. We are in the US, so we'd be very curious about pricing. Always at the forefront is how do you cost, and are you going to come in here and try to price based on assets under management? And then we'll wrap up with a couple of questions if anybody in the audience has one. But why don't we start with Greenlock? How do people pay you? What are the different structures?
Well, typically the way we position it, it's not client who pays us, it's investment bank or intermediary who pays us, and we just share the receipts back to the client. We typically see our fee are recovered within first quarter or within second quarter. We don't price on IUM. We think it leads to the conflict of interest. We price a fixed price. Typically, it's a function of a number of custodian relationship. As an example, I can say if it is a simple single family office with two custodians, the pricing would be somewhere in the range of 20 to 25,000 a year. Plus, you may understand here, the more complex situation will increase the price. The simpler situation will reduce the price.
Perfect. Thank you for being so straightforward. Bobby, what about you? How do you guys price?
Sure. Similar to Danielle, we don't price off the back of NAV because we're not a wealth manager or money manager. So we would charge typically a onboarding fee. We then have a base license fee, which is an annual license fee. And then depending on what type of client it is, i.e. a single family office would have a different charging model as compared to, say, a wealth manager, because we would have one contract with a wealth manager and they have umpteen clients below them. So then it would be contingent upon how many clients we're onboarding for that wealth manager. So it's really driven off the back of complexity for family office. Also, we've really moved down the modular route, which isn't something that we were doing initially, but because we built out a very complex legal entity module, we have a few trust companies now just using that module, and we built that for a very large Benelux family office. And people said, look, we want just that module, and that's applied to other aspects of the platform. So it's really on a case-by-case basis. So it's not as straightforward, I'm afraid.
What's the base platform for a single family office? What's that based on? Users, family members?
Yeah,
modules,
and it's around $45,000 a year. That's a rough number as a starting number, and that's really unlimited in terms of number of users, because we want to have that collaborative model. So we want as many people as part of their ecosystem logging in, and it's more driven off the back of the complexity, what type of structures do they have, how many SPVs, how many foundations, how many trusts, etc.
Great, thank you. Obviously, that'll go over well here in the US. Vanessa, Max, what about you guys? How do you all price?
Yeah, so similar in a way to how Bobby described. We work on a modular basis, and everything is on a quarterly subscription basis, with the base being Microsoft Business Central, and then each of our modules is then added to that. So customers only pay for the elements that they need. It's not a whole package. We've got 6 different modules that you can add to Business Central. So we've then got an initial setup training workshop, which again is module based, depending on what each of our customers needs. That's then charged on a fixed hourly basis. And beyond that, anything that we need to sort of do bespoke wise, we keep referring back to no family office is the same as the next one. There's always something that people will want at some point once they've had the sort of standard implementation. That's again charged on an hourly basis for any bespoke work that we do.
Wow, that's great. I think it's interesting, in the US, we still have a number of vendors that will try to charge based on assets under management, particularly in the reporting space, when it comes to adding in the reporting piece. Obviously, your whole accounting module and everything that Bobby's got going with his digital wealth intelligence, kind of really resonate with that. And so I think that that's a great example of why you might be well positioned to enter the U.S. marketplace. With that, first, let me thank you guys for off-roading with me there towards the end. None of them were prepared for that. They all knew that I would do it, but didn't know where I would go. And I appreciate that very much. And to everybody else for participating, let's see, I think Phil, do you want to do questions or did I run too close?
No, if there are questions, put them on chat and we'll see and we'll answer them. Maybe Tanya, you can just ask for closing remarks and no questions.
Raymond, sorry, can I just say that someone called Raymond has just asked me a question. I think he meant to put it onto the
No, that's fine.
chat.
Great.
Can you see that question or shall I read it out?
Read it out.
Read it out.
Yeah, sure. So thanks, Raymond, for the question. And it's, Bobby, how do you connect to commercial bank data in the US? Many firms are using Plaid and by all accounts, curious how you are getting data into your system, which is actually relevant to everyone. And the other partners on the call mentioned about data aggregation and the feeds. So what we do is, I just saw another really interesting question: is Leicester City going to be relegated? so thanks for that. With respect to the bank integrations, yes, we use Plaid, we use open banking. The future is open banking. Clearly, it's been slow on the uptake. So we use a combination of techniques. We have custom data integrations with financial institutions or other, and we use open banking. And our view is that we are simply at the center of your wealth data universe. And then we have these data spokes radiating in and out around us, and we can connect to these third-party platforms, banks, financial institutions, PE databases, whatever they are, depending on how sophisticated they in fact are, i.e. do they have an API or do they have to send us a file? So we perform an ETL operation. So it's really on that basis.
Perfect, thank you. I'll say some quick closing remarks and then turn it over to each of the speakers. But I just want to point out that here in the US, we hear, and I'm a huge fan again of Adapar. I'm a huge fan of Intact. I'm a huge fan of Microsoft, but oftentimes we go, where is everybody else going? And we think of the players that are right here and the biggest ones in the US. But I think these players today show that there are some very thoughtful partners outside the US that have, taken their experience from their marketplace, the trusted partners, and are really making a great effort here. So I just want people to understand that there are other opportunities. And with that, let's see, Danielle, do you want to do some closing remarks?
Yeah, maybe something real quick. We always say that fees are like your mother. It's here to stay with you forever, no matter what you do, no matter how performance is high, low, and you have to learn how to live with it. There is no way it can go.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, what about you, Max?
Max, do you want to close for us, please?
Yeah, I think I just want to thank you for the invitation, and it was a very interesting panel. I want to thank you, the panel as well, and Ernest as well for the contribution. Thank you very much.
And Bobby, any final closing remarks?
Sure, just to echo that in terms of the thank yous to everyone who helped to put this together, particularly you, Tania. It's been fantastic. And just to say that we at OneFS fervently believe that every wealth owner in the future will be using our type of platform. And to have your wealth correctly organized and to have a digital family office in your pocket is the way of managing and controlling your wealth, we believe. So that's really what we're striving for. And it's beginning to happen as people realize that the next gens are beginning to control the wealth. So the great wealth transfer and all of that.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Adriana. I really appreciate it. Appreciate everybody sticking with us today and our wonderful panelists. I appreciate it.
So thank you, Tania. You picked a great panel, and I think the panel learned from each other, basically. Very complimentary services. So I thought that was really terrific. Interesting that they're all from non-US, which is great. And I want to thank Adriana, Tania, our panelists. This is probably one of our best panels. But Tania, you always outdo yourself. So thank you so much. Everyone have a great day, and we'll be talking to you soon. June 14th is our next date. If you're not on our list, please get in touch with me, and I will make sure you see the next program. And good afternoon to the ones that are in the afternoon, and good morning to the ones in the morning. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
From Phil